Mr. George Phillips and his beautiful wife, Deanna.
Thank you, Jazz. Thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to briefly introduce my wife, Deanna, here. I'm sorry our son George couldn't be here, but he just got a new train last night, so he's a little preoccupied. Thanks, sweetie. Thank you so much for being here today. It's great to be here with a group of American patriots who care about this country at a time when our future is in great peril. I want to start by just apologizing for my voice. I'm losing my voice here, but at least I'm here. And I believe it's the duty and obligation of a candidate for public office, of a person in public office, whether it be Congress or any other office, to make themselves available to respond to concerned citizens and to hear their concerns. So I'm proud to be here today and listen to you and answer any questions you might have. I had a few questions for you first, and for those who have seen me speak, this might become routine, but I think it speaks to where we're at as a country right now. They've spent and spent in Washington. They've racked it up, a $13 trillion national debt. They're forfeiting our future, our children's future, and our grandchildren's future. Have you had enough? Yeah. We had this health care bill come up. The American people said no. I had a town hall meeting. I listened to your concerns. Maurice Hinchey was nowhere to be found. They passed a bill with a series of backdoor compromises. Most members of Congress didn't even read a bit of that bill, and it's resulting in a government takeover of health care and the largest cumulative tax increase in our nation's history. Have you had enough? Yes! Jobs keep leaving New York State. Unemployment nationally is hovering around 10%, and there's more tax increases on the horizon to feed this spending spree. Have you had enough? Yes! Well, I've had enough, and I'm here to help us take this country back in November. I thank you so much for your support here. And as Jazz mentioned, I'm an American history teacher, and I'm proud to teach the Constitution of the United States. I'm proud to teach Article 1, Section 8, which defines the powers of the federal government, national security, immigration law, which we're doing a terrible job at right now, the Postal Service, and a few other specific powers. I'm proud to teach the First and the Second Amendments. I'm proud to teach the 10th Amendment, which, as Jazz reminded us, all powers now given specifically to the federal government are reserved to the people and to the states. And those are the principles we have to get back to of limited government. My friends, a study came out recently about the wealthiest counties in the country. And as I read the article, I thought it would talk about the New York City suburbs, the Los Angeles suburbs, Chicago, and so on and so forth. It surprised me at first, but then didn't really, to learn that the 3 wealthiest counties in the country are in the Washington, D.C. suburbs. 11 out of the top 25 wealthiest are in the Washington, D.C. area. What does that tell us? Our money is going down here. Taxes from our businesses are going down to Washington and feeding the bureaucracy, feeding the waste, the lobbyists, the special interests, the attorneys. Washington keeps growing. Those jobs aren't being cut. But what about our jobs here? What about all the families leaving New York for years now? The equation is simple, my friends. We have to go down and cut waste in Washington. And if you look at my platform, we're offering a bold plan for America. From day one, I've said I'm going to run for a leadership position in my class. There's going to be 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 new members of Congress. And I'm going to say we all talked about cutting waste. We all talked about cutting taxes. Here are my ideas. Let's take a page from Ronald Reagan's playbook. He had something called the Grace Commission. Business leaders and experts going in, scouring the government for waste and inefficiencies. Do you know they found in 1983, 1/3 of government spending was wasteful and inefficient? Imagine if we had that findings today out of our $4 trillion in spending. We need to consolidate, eliminate, and reduce government agencies. Why are there more people working in the Department of Agriculture than there are farmers in this country right now? What's wrong with that equation? Our plan says let's merge agriculture, energy, and the interior into one agency of land and resources. Let's cut through the bureaucracy. For every cabinet secretary, There's 3 or 4 undersecretaries. There's assistant secretaries. There's deputy assistant secretaries. They all have plus salaries, plus retirements. But we're struggling. Well, we're wowing here in New York. Let's cut through those agencies. Let's eliminate agencies. Let's have Washington come back. And finally, point number 3, let's roll back this spending spree. This stimulus that spent almost $1 trillion. By the way, my opponent's not here to speak for himself, but I know he's on record as saying he wished to spend another $1 trillion. Look at all that waste. Let's roll back spending here. Let's roll back the Obama spending spree. If we go back to even 2008 levels of spending, we could save billions and billions of dollars. And when we save this money, we need to bring it back here to New York State, to our individuals, to our seniors, to our hard-working middle class, to our small businesses. That's how we're going to create jobs. That's how we're going to lift up this entrepreneurial spirit that made this the valley of opportunity, that made this area so great. My friends, I'd like to close with a story from the American Revolution. I love teaching about our founding fathers and American history. And when they were at the Constitutional Convention, our nation was facing a time of great peril, somewhat similar to today in terms of financial instability and uncertainty for the future. And if you could picture that Constitutional Convention, the founders were gathered around, and Benjamin Franklin sat in the front. He was quite old at that point. He looked up at George Washington, who sat at the front of the convention. Washington had a picture of the sun at the top of his chair. Franklin thought that sun was a symbol for America, and he wondered whether it was rising or setting. At the beginning of the convention, he feared that the sun was setting, that America's best days had passed it by with the glory of the Revolution, and that we were going to fade out of existence. But when they came up with that finished document, he said, this is close to perfection as men can get. And he realized that sun he had looked at, it was a symbol for America, was that in fact rising, and that our best days lay ahead and in the future. And so I ask you today, my fellow Americans, is that sun rising or setting? This is the moment to set the record straight. This is the moment to get our country back on track. We're 1 seat in the Congress, but I promise you I'll fight to make a difference down there. I need your prayers. I need your help. I need your support. If you've had enough of the mess in Washington, we ask you to join our cause. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
How about a balanced budget? Are you in favor of a balanced budget?
Absolutely.
Could you explain to me what that is?
Sure. Balanced budget is living like we have to live. An American family has to live within their budget.
How's that?
It's we don't spend more than we take in.
And what happens if you try to spend more than you take in?
You're going to have massive deficits like we have now. You're going to have the Chinese buying up our currency. You're going to have a situation that borders on concerns about what happened in Greece and Spain, what's happening all over Europe. Government's collapsing. We need to get the record straight on the budget.
Term limits.
Term limits, I support them. I'll be fighting for them down there.
Great, great.
And I'll add to that, when you look around the crowd here, there's plenty of fine people that could serve, whether it be in this office or other offices, but the situation is set up to favor the incumbents. They're getting all the special interest money, they get all the free press and other things, and it makes it very, very difficult. The founders didn't have term limits, but they also didn't intend for career politicians. So let's set the record straight on term limits. Let's secure our borders. Let's cut spending. Let's balance the budget. Let's get this country back on track. Thank you so much. God bless you.